Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wastelander, an ATF podcast. I'm your host, Easternley, and joining me today are my co-hosts, Mellow and Filthy Moose.
Easternley? Who the heck are you? I don't know no Easternley. Where's Wastelamber?
I changed my username. It was
Okay.
Jack's idea.
Man, that's whack.
Yeah.
So, we have on today DJ Sorcha and ChadTheCreator. How are you guys doing?
Hey, doing good. I'm Chad.
Hello, Chad.
To start off with a question that a lot of people had, what differences that you're willing to talk about would you say they're going to be between Mirage and 7.5?
Green.
I would say DJ would. Have you been very? Have you had a heavy hand in that?
I've had a slight hand, but I know that Smartmouth 226 has really been pushing 7.5 development. A lot of the moderators have mostly taken the mantle for the project, I would say.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you would, I would say, expect it's the same map for the most part. I wouldn't expect a huge difference, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want anyone to come into 7.5 expecting like a whole new game or anything, because the way we do 0.5 games is they're more like a dessert for a meal. So we have the main game, and then we have 0.5 game is like a
Nice.
send off for the game. So like Deep Winter was like a send off party for Deep Six, and Snowstorm was a send off party for Sandstorm, that kind of stuff. So this isn't an entirely new game or anything. We're just adding some new spices to the map, rearranging things, and we're changing up the lore a little bit. So it'll be something a little fresh, but it's not going to be something entirely new.
And so, in regards to that lore, is it supposed to be different time period rather than the 30 so years that's after the bombs dropped that we have in the lore right now?
Would you say it's fair to me? Because I'll actually explain what's in the game
Sure.
itself currently. So currently in the game, it takes place a little in between, like the near end of the nuclear winter itself in Oregon. So the game itself takes place on the west coast in a county called Arklay. And basically from there, you're going to have some factions that are new and some factions that are from Mirage, but for the most part, you might not see some your normal ones you might see in a 0.5 game, like NATO. I'm pretty sure NATO is not in the game. For the most part, other than that, like I'm going around the studio right now. I'm looking, and a few areas I will say that you will see changed are the Myriad Camp, Cliff Guard, and Crater View are all going to be changed. I think I'll leave the rest of them a little secret, I guess.
Yeah, we don't want to give away too much about what we're doing exactly. Again, I don't want anyone to expect like ATF 8 or anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, of course.
essentially what we're doing is taking the current locations in the game and making some minor or major changes to those locations and moving them around, changing the story of them a little bit. So we're not making new things from scratch. We're just rearranging and modifying things.
Mhm.
And like he said, Cliffguard and Creative View are some major ones that you'll see some big changes with.
That's really interesting. I mean, so you said that it's Oregon?
Yes.
Huh, so
That's
it's-
interesting. So it's not in Arizona; it's in a completely different location.
that is
Yeah.
interesting.
The idea is that the development has started. I'd say mostly recently, but talks of the game itself have been discussed for quite a while. And Oregon was just one of those places that stuck because as the moderators were like talking amongst themselves, they didn't really feel like having a full-on winter game would be fun for many people. So the idea would be for them to switch the weather like it does in Mirage currently. So when it becomes Christmas or winter, the game or the map itself will turn into a winter state and then turn back over during the summer.
Nice.
I did notice that the trees were red, and the grass was red. So is that because it's dead, or is there something underlying that we don't know about?
There's something underlined that you guys don't know about. I
Oh
think
shoot.
I'll
So
keep
it
that
ain't
one
just the
quiet.
seasons.
It's part of the map, but I won't speak much on it because it's it pertains to one of the new things in
Yeah.
the story.
Point five is normally a volunteer-based project, so the entire staff team is essentially allowed on to work on whatever they want, as long as it doesn't break the rules, of course. So they kind of just get to do what they want, and that specific part is something that a few of the staff members thought was interesting.
Nice.
But we not going to explain too much about that yet. We don't want to give away too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can all appreciate a good hype up and mystery before the release.
Of course.
Yeah. Definitely.
So it's not gonna be your typical like 0.5 snow game. You're gonna have like are there gonna be any major twists that like differentiate it from its predecessors?
Well, actually, in this game, Jeb Lackey is not going to die.
I respect that.
No, but I'll go ahead and say now I actually wanted to be Snow. But the staff team, it's a volunteer project, and they overruled me on that one. So I'll let them do what they want.
Yeah,
That's
I'm.
nice.
I see definitely. It's kind of like a fresh thing because I mean personally, all I've seen is the one picture, but it definitely seems like it's going to be something fresh that we haven't seen before. Because all the eras we've seen are the Snow, the Dust Bowl, and the completely rebuilt one. We haven't seen the rebuilding era, and we haven't seen a red era.
I'm really intrigued by this. It feels like an entirely different angle when it comes to this approach to a 0.5 game from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely become a bigger project than past 0.5 games. In the past, like I said, Snowstorm and Frost and Deep Winter were just sort of like send-offs for the main title game. But this one, a lot of people in the staff team wanted to implement a lot of new things. So there's going to be a lot more big changes off the bat to the map. Whereas Deep Winter, for example, literally just started out as a carbon copy of Deep Six with snow. I think that's how it was. I think it had the ruins, like the bombed out places with it.
Yeah, it did. So I do have a question. DJ Sorcha, you said Cliffguard earlier, so there's not going to be a creator view. I mean, I know this takes place in a completely different state, but from my understanding here, it's like mimicking the region, but a different approach to it.
It's mostly mimicking the region itself, but where there are changes to how the map itself is kind of laid out, and you'll notice that when playing it. Cliffguard, like I said, has been changed. Creative view has been changed.
So when I hear that, I almost think just how much can you really change a scrap town to fit into its environment besides just removing it and placing it somewhere else or creating an entirely new one to fit a new lore, a new location, such as that. So with these new scrap towns, are they going to be scrap towns? And if this is too in detail, don't feel pressured to answer.
That's actually a good point about changing the towns without removing them entirely, and that's why we've decided to go with a bold move, and we've removed all the towns from the game entirely. So it's going to be an empty map with just trees.
Yeah, you build the towns, but
prop placer prop limit 300.
Yo, that's
I wasn't sure if you were
that's
joking
where
for a
it's at.
second.
no, we are joking.
We're
Yes,
joking.
of course.
I'll just say this tactic. I won't say exactly the details, but the tactic that we've taken is Cliffguard, for example. We've taken the bits and pieces from the town and sort of sectioned it off and put it in various other places and added a few new parts to each section. So there's multiple towns now.
I
Makes a lot of
see.
sense. So I actually had a question going back to how are you describing all the 0.5 games being send-offs to their counterparts? And so does this definitely mean that when that this 0.5 game is essentially a send-off to 7 and the signal marker for your staff team to start beginning on the next game?
Yeah, I'm in the planning stages of ATF 8. I haven't drawn out the map yet or anything, but I have a list of things that I wanna put into it, and I would say we'd probably begin working on that sometime in early 2021,
Early 2021.
sometime after Christmas.
If we make it there.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
great. And last thing, just for curiosity's sake, when did the first notion come up that you needed to start working on an ATF 5 game? At what point in the main franchise's main game lifespan, at what point do you start saying you need to make that 0.5 game or start working on the next game? Is it a year, or is it a year and a half, 2 years?
I guess I would be the only one to be able to answer this, but it's mostly just a gut thing, because when the game comes out, when the main title game comes out, it has a certain energy to it. It has like momentum, and I guess you would describe it as like a car that you just press the gas on when it's released. And then as it starts to slow down, when it hits a certain speed, like it's going at a certain slow speed, that's when it's time to start working on 0.5, and then very soon work on the next game. So I would say 7's been out for a very long time, and there's not too many things I want to do with 7 at this point without completely overhauling the system or the map. And people have shown that they want something new as well. So I think now is a good time to start working out some new things.
So I brought up this point in one of our previous podcasts where we were talking with a spin-off creator. So one of the differences between some of the older ATF games and Mirage is that it's a lot more story driven instead of player driven, which we don't blame you at all. It's a very large community. I believe 30,000 people. So you can't have every player having a say. But do you think that this one will have a more different approach on how the story drives, or yet to find out?
You mean Mirage is story driven?
Mirage is faction driven, more so than, in my opinion, more so than some of its predecessors. But I know there'd be a lot of people who disagree with that. How do you feel this game? Is it going to be a similar approach?
So there was one point that I want to address that I feel like ties into this, from one of the podcasts you guys did, where someone said something like ATF 7 is less atmospheric, I guess, or less story driven than Deep 6 was, and then someone else said something like, well, that's the community's fault. I don't feel like that's the community's fault or anything. What I was doing there was just taking what I learned from Deep 6, and people mostly did not enjoy Deep 6 because the audience for Deep 6 was much smaller. And so bringing that info over to a potential ATF 8, I think I know what most people want at this point. Obviously, I've got to keep it fresh in some ways, but there is some experiments that I'm doing over at FL2, for example, that I think could lead to some interesting things I could do with ATF 8 in the future. For example, I have a plan with FL2 that I'm going to do certain events, and the story of the game is going to pan out based on how the community as a whole votes and how they go, how they do events, so that nothing's going to be really predetermined.
That is a satisfying answer. Thank you.
I like that, man. It's more community driven.
One of the big problems that we did talk about in one of those last podcasts, and something that we've heard from the community, is that when it comes to ATF 7, not just ATF 7, even past games, but the role of factions in the changing of the map and how the story of the game plays out. Sometimes it feels like it almost obligates people to join these factions in order to enrich their roleplay experience, rather than solely rely on the people around them and the map. And so all these factions are the only things that are driving the game itself, almost.
I'm not entirely sure how to answer that one, because I guess it's just like the nature of factions is that it's a group of people, like a large group of people, and obviously a large group of people doing one thing together is going to have more of an effect than 100 people doing their own thing. I don't know. I'm still doing some experiments with FL2 because I do want to experiment with like that, what I said, which is like multiple people doing their own thing, sort of working towards the same goal, because I want to see how it will work if the future of the game was affected by people sort of working together, not necessarily in a faction.
Right, because there has to be limits in a structure. I mean, that's what the factions provided, is that kind of structure. You have to have limits to that community decision making.
Yeah.
One of the major limiters though is that changes to the map nowadays are pretty big things. They used to be very small and they used to take months and months
Yeah.
because it was all just volunteer work or just me doing it. But now it's a little more professional, but it also means that because things can be done quicker and more of it, I have to really what's the phrase here I'm looking for? I have to really plan out exactly how, like, what I want to happen or what I want to be allowed to happen. If some faction does something super crazy in the story and I just allow it to happen, then that's like, I don't know, it could end up in some huge fort that I'll have to build, and that'll be a really expensive process.
Of course, yeah.
Actually, to sort of add on to that, I would say for the 0.5 itself, I wouldn't say expect like major changes like that. Chad was saying way before, it's the whole thing's volunteer work, and if anything we want to add, it does have to go through him. Even as like on the main game itself, like if we want to work on something, it's something that we have to bring up to him and ask him about. And even then, like we're not really asking him all the time for stuff. Usually agree with most of the stuff he says.
Yeah, with 7 and FL2, I would say the system is more like, for the most part, I come up with things that I think we need to do, and then we work on them together. And then for 7 point or a 0.5 game in general, it's more like the staff team comes up with what they want to do, and then I just give it a yes or no.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a lot of what I expected it to be like. You know, it sounds like a system that works. Obviously, a system that works, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not gonna
really good
I'm
to
not gonna
hear.
let the staff team build the faction of the rubber duck on the lake.
I have a question though, going back to Mirage. Have you ever been to Arizona, and was the image of 7 built upon your own image or somebody else's image of the state?
I actually there's some weird coincidences going on because I started planning out the game and I drew the map for it in, I think it was early 2018, and it was in Arizona, but I had no plan to move to Arizona, and I'd never actually been to Arizona, but by the end of 2018 I was actually living in Arizona. In Phoenix, and me and my wife lived there for 2 years. We just came back to North Carolina.
really,
But we didn't live near Lake Mead. But Phoenix is basically a very similar environment anyway.
as far as I've
Alright.
seen, Lake Mead is a bit out of the Sonoran Desert, right? So was there so there's Saguaro, I don't know. How do you pronounce it, Mello? You live in Arizona. Saguaro, whatever.
Saguaro?
The big green ones. There's a lot of those in the game. Do those actually exist in the Lake Mead area, or are those just in the south? Because I recently came back from Arizona a month ago. I didn't see any in the north.
Well, I've actually never been to Lake Mead either, so
Yeah.
I don't know if there's saguaro cactuses there. If you say there's
There-
not,
There's not too many. You won't find many. I was born in Vegas, actually, and so I would go there all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
the
I live in Phoenix now, but I still take trips up to Vegas like every year.
So guns in ATF, especially in Mirage, they're definitely a lot different than guns we've seen in previous games. And do you, what inspired you guys to change the firearm style so drastically?
do you mean the systems or do you mean
No,
like
how they
energy
look.
weapons
How,
or?
how the firearms look. They look a lot different than they did in Deep Six. I mean, I know it's also a year difference, and there's probably different ways to make them that you've found out in experience. But was it just a quick idea and like, oh, I'm gonna make it look different. I'm gonna try and make it look different, or did it just come to you guys like that?
Um, I guess I'm trying to figure out the question exactly. Are you asking about the style that they're built in,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
the
The style that
lore?
they're
Oh,
built
okay.
in. How
Or
it
is it
changed
just,
from Deep Six.
progress?
Is it just what?
Just progress, getting better with, what you're building as time goes on.
Yeah, it's just that ATF style is just like you can honestly
evolves.
you could say like every game like 7 is just the style of 6 but a little better, and then like ATF 3 is the style of 2 but a little better. And as the years go on, it's just completely different from where we started. We just make minor changes as we go with each game for stuff that we
Right.
we think is better. I've actually been
That makes
considering
perfect sense.
not using cylinders at all, just using like hexagon prisms. I don't know what you would call those for like the round parts on guns in the future, but not gonna make any promises there.
It's a good teaser.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that the same kind of thing that and I know you worked a little bit on it. I think animations with Apocalypse Rising 2, that project.
Yeah, I think they're one of the games that does that as well. I think it's a style that I enjoy.
Yeah, it looks really really polished.
Hmm.
So I have a question about some of the recurring firearms we've seen in the game that I'm pretty sure don't exist in the real world. So did you come up with weapons like the Sparrow and the TSR yourself, or did those have when did those come to you?
So the first gun that was fictional that was in ATF was called the Mindel. It's a pistol. The only story I have behind that one literally is that I was in high school and we were studying I think a biologist named Mendeleev, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a
Yep.
cool name," and I just named a pistol after him.
Nice.
Well, now
Um,
you know.
yeah, Sparrow. I think with all these fictional weapons, what I wanted was more of I guess like an atmosphere and a brand for ATF, because I didn't want to just copy real world guns, because I feel like that
Outdated.
kind of defeats the purpose of being in the post apocalypse.
I totally agree. That was a really that was a smart move. I mean, a lot of us forget that this game didn't exactly come out this year. I know it definitely influxed in popularity, like in
November
2018 and
2018.
2019.
Yeah.
But this game has been out for 9 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
ATF as
Well,
a
the
series has been
franchise.
out over 9 years. Yeah,
Yeah, it was its ninth anniversary a couple weeks ago. No, months ago, I think. But
yeah, it was 3 months ago.
3 months ago. Yeah. So a lot of things have changed. We can't exactly constantly be using weapons from the 1990s, even though the war happened in 20. No, the Flash happened in 2032.
When we were talking about the Mendel, something popped into my head, and I know there's not a lot of people that know this, and I'm gonna feel really stupid if I'm wrong. But as an alpha tester, I remember in ATF 7 during the beta tests, there was a Mendel. There were dual Mendel.
Oh,
Were those just never implemented in the game?
that was unfortunately just a test.
Nah.
There's what I was trying to do was at the beginning of the game, I tried to throw out every possible situation in which or configuration in which I think a gun could be. So like dual wield, shotgun, bolt action. Yeah, so the dual Mendel was just a test, and I think I'm gonna do a similar situation with the system for ATF 8. Although I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna make an entirely new system. I probably am. I was actually I've been considering like doing something stupid and making the original body kit for the Mindel and the stakeout available as like an achievement thing.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah, they're literally just you guys know how guns looked in like 2010. They were essentially just blocks like with a few parts thrown on. That's it. Kind of goofy looking.
You're running
Um,
around with the brick.
Remember Brick Stakeout? God, miss that thing.
I have a question for both of you. So like, what are your guys' thoughts on like spin-offs such as like Rediker and all that? Like, if you've heard of them, like, do you have any opinions on them?
I personally worked on Rediker for a bit. I personally told Vord about switching over to like a half mesh, half brick style instead of keeping it all unions. Apart from that, like I don't work on it anymore. I originate sort of from like kind of the spin-off community, I guess. So I think they're fine. I think they're fine as long as they're not like crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that you guys really. I mean, I don't know if they're there anymore, but the spin-off novice and spin-off master ranks, kind of shows that you guys are really open to community involvement, and I think that's really cool.
I think the way the spinoff rank started was as a sort of a way for me to encourage people to make not their own ATF games necessarily, but their own vignettes. Do you guys know what those are?
There's sort of like small like places you can go, like showcases.
Yeah, just showcases. So that's what the spinoff rank was intended for originally. But I think as the years have gone on and we've just kind of let the rank sort of rot, And obviously, nobody has enough time to thoroughly check everyone's spin-offs, so it's kind of something that just has fell by the wayside. So I just decided to get rid of it because we don't really do anything with it anymore.
One thing that does amaze me though is how many builders there are in the community, which I've seen. There's so many talented animators and artists and builders, and it's that personally just amazes me.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people that especially use the prop placer, for example, in really cool ways. But I guess just the nature of Roblox as a whole, there's a ton of people in both communities that are, I guess you would call them sleeper cell developers. They're just really good at building. They just haven't really had a chance to shine yet in any big game or anything.
So you said earlier that you moved to Arizona shortly after putting out or getting the idea for ATF 7. Did living in Arizona ever change any perspective on how you would continue to develop the game?
No, I think just watching people roleplay and getting people's feedback did more than anything else. Because if I'm being honest, Arizona as a state kind of sucks. I'll say this: my impression so far is there's a lot of people that come from California to Arizona, and I feel like if you're coming from California, which is already mostly a desert state, to Arizona, it's like, wow, this is basically California. The rent's just cheaper. But if you're coming from a place that's like lush and green, like the Deep South, to Arizona, it sucks.
Oh, I can.
Essentially.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, gonna drag in Poggernet, aka Terra Verbis, as a special guest. Hey, Terra, what's
Terra.
up?
Hey.
This is when the political debate begins.
Oh God.
Poggernet is going to be
This is-
an advocate for communism.
Oh God.
This
Hey,
is
how
where
did you know?
I scream really vulgar things at poggers.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right, so now we're gonna begin with eugenics.
Oh,
Oh,
wait.
my
No,
God.
I'm
Oh
fucking
no.
kidding.
No,
Oh, there goes Chad.
God damn
Bad.
it.
We just end the podcast there.
Terra, I got a question. What are your thoughts on 7.5? Like, are you hyped for the game?
I am. I especially the fact that stuff like carries over, because that's actually pretty hard to do.
God,
Well,
Carry stuff over?
assuming you're using data stores. I don't know if you can access other games' data stores that are
Well,
under your.
let me try to explain this as simple as I can. The data for ATF 7, Roblox has this system where you can put multiple places under a single game system.
Oh, so you're putting 7.5 under the Mirage place?
Yeah. So,
game.
7.5, yeah. So 7.5 is a place, and
Then you can access the same data stores.
Yeah, since they're all under the same game.
That's a pretty good system. Yeah, I haven't actually seen that done. That system used that way before, where it's like another version of the game, kind of, but it's under the same page and everything.
Yeah, I don't remember if Deep Winter had things carry over like that.
No, it didn't.
It didn't.
I don't think they're the same game.
The thing that's different about Deep Winter though
Snow
is
it's a big one.
no, but in terms of data, what it does is it checks for game passes, because we didn't have an in-game store back then.
Yeah, like
you can check
scrap
game
parts
passes anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Because they're actually just items technically that are in an inventory, so you don't actually need to check them for. But the point system that uses data stores, so
Yeah, it
that
does.
solution doesn't really work in this case, which is.
Yep.
I don't know. I never considered that you could do that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'm glad we can do it. I don't want to. I feel like it's a good send off for 7 to be able to use literally everything from 7 in 7.5.
Yeah, I think it really cuts down the amount of work you need to do.
Yeah.
And probably a pretty good point to actually play the game. Like, if people couldn't have their stuff carry over, they'd be like, oh no, I have to like have all this like basic stuff I don't have all my stuff in Mirage. I don't really want to do this.
Yeah,
I've seen that complaint with Deep Winter actually quite a lot when it was first starting up. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, a lot. Really, it was like one of the biggest arguments I've seen actually personally.
I'm surprised so many people played it. Then I totally forgot that was
Is this the first 0.5 game without the snow? I don't remember much of the old ones. Didn't it start with snowstorm?
The game will have snow in it maybe at some point, but it's gonna start off with green.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
usually they're all like just like winter
Snowy
versions, you
forever,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to have it be a traditional winter version. That was my thing, but the staff team wanted it to be a changing season thing where it's green in
Oh,
the
wow.
I think it's summer and spring and then snowy in the winter and fall. I'm not sure how well that's going to work out since the game 7.5 is just meant to be a send off, so it's not going to have a lifespan of even a year.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I
Um,
remember Deep Winter was, it was pretty big. I like you were saying earlier, Deep Six wasn't very popular with the community
at the time,
at the
everyone
time.
loves it
Yeah.
now. I don't know why that happened, but
Yeah, it's like a nostalgia thing. Everything's
yeah,
better
rose-tinted
remembering it the
glasses.
second time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you expect this to have a bigger community than Mirage, or a smaller one?
7.5?
Yes.
I expect it to be a lot smaller than 7. But I'm not sure how things are going to pan out at this point because it could turn out to be like basically a title game on its own, like Snowstorm was, where for some reason Snowstorm just had a lot of juice in it, and people started playing that one more and more than Sandstorm. So I really don't know
know
what's
that.
going to go on with 7.5. If 7.5 has a lot of interest in it and like a lot of energy, then we'll probably keep it around for a little longer. But I don't think a year. I don't think it'll be around longer than a year, at most, at the absolute most.
I looked at the screenshots, the teaser images and stuff, and I wanted to know if this was how you built it or not. But you know how in Blender you can do particle things, and it will like basically it automatically puts trees everywhere with a certain
Oh
amount of
yeah.
spacing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, so after Deep Six, I decided I was never gonna do that again. In Deep Six,
The
what I did was
trees, you had to place them all.
I placed them all by hand
Oh God, dude.
because I wasn't a good enough programmer
Oh
back
my
then.
lord.
So,
That must have been a hassle. Oh my
yeah,
God.
that
I would
took a
never do
very
that.
long time.
I don't know
So
how I don't know how that's I don't know how to do that. I gotta be honest with you.
just know that every tree in Deep Six has care put into it and a single tear.
A single drop of each blood, sweat, and tear.
Yeah, all of those.
He had to drink a lot of water during development.
Trifecta.
You're running out of fluids.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So what I do now is I just generate. I take
Make a bunch of different models and then just have them generate across.
Yeah, we start out with the small ones. I have
Like
a range
Minecraft a
that
little
it
bit.
starts in, and it shoots down a beam from the sky towards the map, and wherever it hits, it says like is
So
this
using
Put a tree there.
the ray casting with
Yeah.
the position it hits at.
Yeah.
So does it just scan across and check if it's a place to put a tree, and then if it's not, it ignores.
Yeah, if it's like shoots down, is this grass? No. Is this grass? No.
Moves
Is this
over
grass?
X
Yeah.
amount. Moves
No,
over like spacing.
it's completely random every shot.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, in the range, which is I think like negative 3,000 to 3,000.
Oh, so it's a those are weird loops. I don't typically do that,
Yeah,
but
what you end up with is basically a TV static pattern.
scan line sort of thing.
No, like just like it's all over the place. There's
Noise.
patches of
Oh, okay.
lots of trees together, and then there's patches of no trees.
Yeah, the way it's so weird because the way you'd probably do that in any other program that actually has tools for doing that is just like a Perlin noise map, and then just run a random in that to choose. I kind of can't really explain it. I don't know. I used to do it
Yeah.
that way. I didn't know that was possible with ray casting of all things.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You kind of have to use raycasting with the maps that we have because with all the structures in the way, if you use just straight up noise instead of
You'll get like
raycasting,
trees in the middle of stuff.
yeah,
There is a tree stuck in a mesa in one of the teasers.
we've probably fixed that by now.
Okay. Do we not talk about that tree?
Actually,
He doesn't know. He wasn't supposed to know about it.
Yikes.
I will say if the leaves are inside of something, we don't care too much.
Yeah, because then it looks
that
like
anyway.
it's kind of mushed up against it. Like that actually happens
Mhm.
in real life. So it doesn't look that bad, but yeah, I think that's what happened. There was a one of the mesas.
Yeah.
I noticed the rock is no longer brown. That's pretty neat. I like that look a lot better. I looked at the mesas when you first released the Badlands. And I was like, why are they brown?
Be surprised how much just a simple change of color and scenery can freshen things up.
I know. I didn't even know it was the same map by that look, and I was like, oh, that's the
Yeah.
whatever mesa near the factory. I forgot the name, but Adam kick Mesa. It's got near that billboard. I don't know. Maybe you could use that with mesas somehow.
Yeah, potentially. I think the problem with mesas though is that
They're a weird shape sometimes.
they're
They're really
so
big.
they're so big. Yeah. So if
You'd have to do some kind of like area calculation. You could get the bounding box of the model. I mean, and then somehow test if that fits in.
It's not necessarily about the how big the model is, but the fact that because the model is big, players notice really big things a lot more easily. So if there's like I don't know, let's say the map had instead of 2,000 trees, it had 10 really big trees. It would be very noticeable if they were all the same exact tree.
It would definitely be very noticeable if there were only 10 trees in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if
Would
it's
be
a
a
bunch
little
of very
bit,
small
be a
trees,
little weird.
the small trees people don't tend to care too much about.
Yeah, I can see that. So
I don't
you
know,
were
maybe
telling
you
us that
could,
this game takes place in Oregon. So does that mean that Boulder Cove is going to have a name change, or is it going to stay the same?
Yeah, what's the location name? Gonna change or not?
We've already said it in here.
Yeah, he wasn't here. It's
Boulder
Oregon.
Cove is mostly going to just stay the same name, I'm pretty sure.
Colder boat.
Because if not, we'd have to redo all the decals and stuff.
There's
and I'm
decals
pretty sure
referencing to the
maybe-
name.
a lot of hassle for
noticed.
7.5.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
definitely notice it if you did actually change the name and they were still there, but I don't know. I never noticed that in just regular Mirage.
He's right. BC Fire Department.
Oh
Yeah.
no, okay, yeah, definitely that'd be a little strange.
Yeah.
Hey, this is supposed to be like in Arizona. What's it doing up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor's office. What else?
Yeah, I was never a fan of just a bunch of nondescript buildings.
So
Like,
I'm
I
assuming,
like when they're labeled and stuff.
I'm
Makes it
assuming
feel
because of
realer.
that, that this is going to be an alternate universe, obviously, right?
Well,
It's gonna take place in the Deep Winter timeline.
Deep Winter universe. Okay,
alternate time. Okay,
that's interesting.
Wait, really? Deep
Do
Winter?
all the .5
they're
games
continuing.
take place in the same universe in that timeline?
Yes, the .5 games have their own slightly altered universe.
All right, that makes sense.
I don't know the exact differences actually. I never looked into that. All I know that two timelines, darkness and.
Well, do both timelines have a distinct nuclear? I mean, obviously one of them has a distinct nuclear winter, or do they differ in that sense?
So the reason I came up with this slightly altered timeline is because I feel like it would be incredibly weird to have, for example, let's start with the first one's Sandstorm, like the exact same map with different things happening, causing the map to change in ways that don't happen in the original title game, which is supposed to happen later in the timeline. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, we have to make a separate timeline because we can't have the game that comes out after affecting the lore of the game that came out before.
Yeah, I never looked at it that way. That's actually really satisfying to.
You know what I was wondering though?
Answer
about technically.
What's
What's the deal with launching different places from the same game? Can you have their own pages, or do you just literally go in the game and then like Apocalypse Rising or something? You just choose which one.
Are you talking about game systems?
Yeah, like literally joining the game. Like, how do you? Are there just two links, like pages, or is it just gonna be join Mirage and then it'll give you an option or something?
Yeah, there's just two places are completely separate links. The only way that you can tell something is a game is if you're like the developer, because games are just ways to link data together. So you can have multiple places under a single game, and you can access all of them individually with the same data, or you can make places that are inaccessible only from the primary place.
I never used a thing with two places in forever. I don't remember the last time I did that.
Is that how any game with a lobby that you hop into and then choose whatever server you go to? Is that how those games work similarly?
Yeah, those are separate places under a single game, and the place that you join in the first place is the primary game or the primary place.
Right, that makes sense.
The rest are hidden from clicking onto and then joining directly.
You know what'd be interesting if we did that, but we put the older games on the newer system and then people could go back and play the older games from the. So you'd have one main ATF hub,
Mhm.
and then you could just join let's say like Rain, but it would have the newer system of like ATF 6 or whatever on it, and then you'd be able to play on Rain because it's on the like master place sort of, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That'd be something interesting.
Some
but
people
I
have
don't know
talked
if
about that kind of thing before.
Backporting, like
Yeah, I
just
think
taking all the future stuff and just retrofitting it into the old games.
yeah, I think the
Huh.
reason I haven't done that yet is because I can't really see too much of a benefit from doing that, and I can see some flaws. For example, like players join the lobby and then they, if we don't hook it up properly or we don't make the display all that well, they might join games with literally nobody in them, like old games,
There's
and
also
then they'll just be
Spark.
like, "Oh, this game sucks," and they'll not play again.
I see.
Owned. Yeah. Also, the Spark games are a thing. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
what
know
do
if
you guys
that's
think about the
canon
Spark
or not. I
games?
don't even know how that works. I should, but I don't. What?
Yeah, like Moose just said, what do you think about Spark?
Spark games deserve misery and death.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have
Giddy would
played a
love
Spark
that
game
as well.
one time, and that was the Spark
If
Sandstorm.
Giddy watches this, can we just like all of us just go around and say I love the Haxor dynamic, please?
I get the
Don't ask
impression.
why.
I get the impression that Giddy's sort of a nihilistic person, so he would just be like, "Finally."
Real
No,
nihilist.
The
the
sweet
Spark,
release.
yeah, the Spark games are pretty awesome. They're Giddy does is he talks to me about the plans that I had for those games originally. Because when I went into each of those games, most of them, the older games, I made them completely on my own. So there's not as much content as there could have been. Like in the plans, I had a little more content planned. So what he does is with the team, he crafts what I tell him the game was meant to have in it.
That
I
brings
remember
me
the
to another
old lore
question.
documents from back in those days. The old the
Uh,
game lore docs. You know what
the
I'm talking about?
forum
The
documents.
forums.
Yeah. Yeah. We all used like the forums and the group shouts.
Yeah,
That
Oh
was
yeah,
like
group
before
shouts.
Discord. That was insane.
Good times, man.
See you
I'm a
later.
ghost. I have unfinished work. And that work is to convince Giddy Ghost that the Haxor dynamic is the best object in existence.
I will agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
It's one of the best things ever.
Yeah. And the Com24 fans, for anyone out there that likes the Com24 over the Haxor dynamic,
I'm 24.
I hope I I hope you get hit by a train.
Wait.
Oh, jeez.
That's
Shit,
a little
wait.
dark.
Dang.
So I was always really out of the loop about this. If you don't know, I ran a little catalog for the ATF 7 where we just cataloged all the weapons and shit. And so we came up with the Haxor dynamic, and we had like no one who had it. I mean, we had one guy that was able to provide a screenshot and a little bit of lore behind it. And what always confused me is,
That was
it
way
was
back in
based
the day when was that during the event? Like the literal
yeah during the
actual
event.
Okay.
So that was based off of, I believe I remember saying, the guy saying it was based off of a Cerberus dynamic gun or the Com24, whatever it was.
Who built that, by the way? The not the Com20, the dynamic. Who built that? Was it Dare that did that whole thing? I know he did the ARG stuff. He did most of the ARGs, but I don't know who built the gun itself.
Do you know DJ?
I mean, I talked to DJ about it. He said he just
pretty
does
sure
all the
Giddy.
ARGs.
I'm pretty sure it was Giddy, and then I'm fixing up the Haxor.
That's
and
hilarious.
Vort made the fixed version.
I am the ghost of his past. You know, I've been harassing Giddy Ghost about the Haxor dynamic for a month.
Oh god.
He's utterly sick of it. It's hilarious. I keep
talking about
bothering Haxor dynamic and Isle.
You talking about the body problems with it?
No, I just say I love it so much, and he's just so sick of me talking about it. I made an image. I made an image. Who is ever editing this, you should put this on the screen. Let me find this real quick. Oh, there it is. Here it is. This image. Yeah. So
What?
so he actually called me a depraved maniac one time, and that was probably the best compliment I've ever gotten by anybody.
Fantastic.
So that's my history with the Haxor dynamic. It's a love-hate relationship.
Thank you for being on poggernet. I'm sure
Thank you.
we are going to make your nickname on this server Haxor Dynamic Fan.
Make it Haxer fan 1995, please.
Okay.
Just gonna make a roll that just has
No,
Haxer
I'll
Dynamic
do it. I'll do it.
like,
Haxer fan.
4 times over.
Haxer Dynamic fan 1995. There we go. And if you don't know, that is a play on Giddy Ghost's new name, Neopets fan 1995.
That's Giddy Ghost?
Sounds good.
That is Giddy Ghost, I think.
What?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've just
Wait.
been harassing some random dude.
Oh god.
That wouldn't be good.
Please tell me.
That's what we
Giddy-
have the.
It
This is
is.
what we have the description as for the Haxer, for the dynamic Haxer. It's the stylish rehash of the traditional Haxer in the style of the Cerberus Dynamics Com24. Am I right?
It's the
or am I
Pope's.
wrong?
It's the Pope's executioner.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you say otherwise, I'm going to get you.
Okay. Thank you for being on today, Terry. You have a
Do
good
you want me to
one.
leave? You keep saying that. Do you want me to go? I'll get out of
Thank
here.
you for being on.
He's
Thank
shutting
you
it
for
down
being
before it turns
on.
into the Haxer podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the Haxar cast.
We will.
So, all right.
We will have a. Hacker
We've enjoyed
podcast
your
just for you.
company.
You're not enjoying it anymore.
Go away. No, I'm kidding.
Everyone-
No, he's been on
I love
4
Terry.
episodes. He's definitely our mascot.
The Haxer podcast.
So, do you guys mind if we do the fan Q&A now? We've got some questions picked out.
Okay, sounds good.
Hand over the
Yeah.
questions. Hand over the
Okay.
questions.
Alright.
What are they?
The first question
Yeah,
that
that sounds
one of the members had, I Frosty, they were asking, how successful is it being a developer, and did you originally want to be a developer?
Originally, I guess DJ can answer that one too. Do you want to answer, DJ?
I hate it here. I wake up, my sleep schedule is completely ruined. I stay up until 4 a.m. I do not enjoy it. I need sleep. Please help.
We do have staff parties where I give each staff member a single piece of pizza.
That's probably real good on
He takes
morale.
home the box. He takes home the box.
I take home the breadsticks too.
It's not fair.
No, DJ is that might be true. He might actually extremely hate it.
No.
But he does a fantastic job at literally everything that he does with building.
This one's from Vigilant Ice. Yes. What goes through your mind when older members of the ATF community bash you for Twitch donations and monetizing ATF?
So I've thought about the. By the way, I'll answer the last question real quick because I don't think I had really a chance
Oh,
to.
yeah.
But I wanted to work at Roblox originally, like as an employee. But I discovered that after being there in 2016 as an intern, that's not what I wanted. So working as a developer is fantastic. I get to wake up and work on something that I want. It's a little stressful, but I hope I can do it forever.
I've always found it really cool that you're able to make a livelihood out of this.
I will say this. I was completely joking.
DJ was probably not joking, and I'm gonna have to talk to him after this.
Please,
Please,
are you
no,
okay?
You can't do this. You can't do this.
A
You
mental
can't.
health
No.
meeting.
We
I
had
don't.
one
I don't even
question-
get benefits here, man.
we had one question where this where somebody asked if since they thought we were gonna have some LPMs on here, they asked if you guys wanted to do this for the rest of your lives.
I will answer that for them. No.
No.
Being a 45-year-old, kissing your children goodbye before you go to work to be an
Yep.
Sorry,
Damn.
what was the question you just asked again?
Oh yeah. So Vigilant Ice asked if how you feel about people who sometimes bash you for doing the Twitch stream donation things and quote unquote monetizing ATF.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's not enough of those people
Oh, definitely not.
to like destroy the game or anything. But they do a little bit of harm. I guess it comes from the fact that the games used to be completely free in every way, but nowadays, since I'm out of college, my parents don't support me anymore because I'm too old. I don't have insurance under them anymore. I have to pay for things somehow. So the fact that people buy things in the game, I guess, is their way to directly support the game because every time they buy something in the game, it's a little more money for me to be able to pay for things like rent and also developers to work with me.
Yeah, I think people actually sometimes forget that this isn't just a hobby that you're doing. It's also something that you live off of, right?
A job.
It's
Yeah.
your
Right.
job.
That's
and
what
a lot
I
of people
I
get-
said earlier.
Yeah. So one of the unfortunate things about it being my job as well is that I can't take quite as many risks. Like in the past, I could make a really weird game like Darkness, but nowadays, if I want to make a weird game, I have to plan it months in ahead to make sure I have enough money saved up so that if the game completely tanks, I'll be safe.
Essentially, your game, you almost have to plan it out as if it's a real
Yeah,
business
essentially.
model. It really is.
Yeah, I can't afford to just sort of experiment and shoot into the wind anymore. I have to really
Yeah.
plan experiments.
I certainly think that's something that a lot of people should really hear.
Yeah, that's just the way things are now. But it's I still enjoy doing it. Nothing changed about
I mean,
that.
hey man, if you got a job and like you like doing it, like that's hit the jackpot, honestly. Like, better than just working at a job that you hate.
Yeah.
And and creating something,
Yeah.
building something from the ground up and watching it become successful.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun watching the games sort of grow. Mirage was a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
After Deep Six, because Deep Six, I thought that the serious roleplay genre was sort of dying out. But no, it was just because Deep Six was a weird game. Because at the point that Mirage was coming out, my savings had completely depleted, and so like that game had to succeed, or I would have had to like do something else and stop doing Roblox.
I honestly, Deep Six, I thought it was I enjoyed it, even though it was a little different from the other games. I personally, I had fun role playing there. Made some good memories. As corny as that sounds, but like I had a good time there. So the next question from O'Ragley: what do you plan to do with the biomass, if any, in 7.5?
I think I can answer this.
Sure.
The idea is that instead of like having like a giant biomass like nuclear reactor with an elephant's foot under it, basically, we try and make it a little bit different because in Mirage, what you normally see is you see a crusher and everyone's like, let's go beat the shit out of it. And they're not really scared of it because they're actually supposed to be. So the idea is that with 7.5, we're gonna try and take the steps that Mirage is currently taking to sort of like show that mutants are a threat.
Yeah.
People should be scared of them when they see them. They shouldn't be like ready for their next mutant kill on their belt. So we decided to, like I said earlier, there's this new thing we're gonna try and introduce that hopefully like gives this game something a little bit more interesting for like people who like mutant type stuff. It's not biomass, but I would say it's something pretty interesting, and I hope people will like it. So mutants will be in 7.5, but they won't be. There will definitely be even less than there are in Mirage currently.
Neat. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, next question from the Legend of the Badger. Do you plan to ever make a game similar to Deep Six again, as in later into the post-Flash era where seals and mutants are gone?
So that's I enjoyed the genre. I feel like Deep Six was not really post-apocalypse at all. It was more like a political, like a fictional political roleplay.
Exactly. I was just about
Yeah.
to say that because people wanted to be, it's with the After the Flash name and brand, it comes off as very much like everyone wants to be kind of Mad Max, whereas Deep Six it was not Wild West kind of conflict. It was geopolitical,
Yeah.
which made it much different.
Yeah. So I would say I would be willing to make a Deep Six sort of game with like the whole same story and politics thing going on. So Mirage is doing well. If the FL series takes off in a way where it's doing like I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times as good as it currently is, I would say I could warrant myself diving into those kind of experimental territories again. Because I would have a solid enough base where if one of those experiments failed, I wouldn't be stuck without savings,
That's the main thing you guys should do is really check out Frontlines too. I know there's a lot of people in the community who don't even know
Yeah.
exists. Frontlines 2 is actually the game that was being made after Mirage mostly, and we're gonna be working on its final update. Not final update, it's like final map, like
Yeah.
expansion, I
it's
guess.
still in beta.
But hopefully at some point, like we'll be able to do a lot more with it, and it's definitely something people should check out if they're into like the high fantasy type of games.
Yeah, it's like you said, please check out FL2 if you think you're into medieval fantasy. It's much more serious than like Kingdom Life, for example. A lot of people there are veterans in the roleplay community, so most of them know what they're doing.
Did you play any certain games from when you started playing Roblox to when you got into ATF? When you started making ATF, like were there any games you played on Roblox, or you just there stagnantly?
I'll answer that, but I feel like DJ has some input on that one too.
Okay. Oh, by the way, this one was from Chad the Waiter.
I played a lot of, the really the Call of Roblox CF5. That I played a bunch of that. I also played like Build a Boat to Survive and
Nice.
stuff like
Love that
that.
game.
I only got into ATF. I came in at around like 3. I shot someone, couldn't kill them, left. Because I thought it was like a PvP game. And later on, I sort of gotten into the roleplay genre. And I played a lot of 5, and when 6 came around, I stopped playing. And then when 7 was starting to get development, I tried the contests, didn't win. Uh, but I mean, that's like I didn't really play Roblox a bunch. Like I do now, sort of, but like I don't remember like names of games off the top of
Yeah.
my head that I played
Yeah.
back then.
I have a
Um,
question from It's Milo. What inspired you to make prosthetics like ALPs and BNL?
One of the things that I really want to do with the future of ATF is come up with a completely new story. So I guess you can count those as sort of my dipping my toes in the water, because with ATF 8, I want to come up with a completely new story in a new world where the Flash happened in a completely different year. And so there would be more like fictional things like robotic prosthetics and laser weapons and stuff. And you can kind of see those things coming into ATF 7 as we get further along in the lifespan of ATF 7. You can see more energy weapons and prosthetics and that kind of stuff.
How do you feel about how some of the veteran players for ATF treat some of the newer players? The whole like calling anybody who's not as in depth with them FRPers and stuff like that.
Oh,
You think it drives away some newer community members, or is it just
uh,
part of it?
well, that's something that I've had to think about like a lot because it's been going on for a long, long time. Like even when ATF 1 first came out, we had that dynamic because my theory is it's not just an ATF community thing. It's older players versus younger players kind of thing.
I see.
So it's a bittersweet thing because the veterans, they are probably the ones that help the game the most in terms of uh like buying things in the game, but they also do a lot of damage, some of them, in
Yeah.
terms of reputation, because they'll be very mean and exclusionary to new players. New players are mostly kids, and they can be jerks too. But I feel like they should still be treated not like hostile enemy combatants.
So you're saying be patient with somebody who's not as in depth as you.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would say if you see a new player, like, and you see, I'll say this from a moderator point of view too. Like, if you see a new player and he's not following the rules, like, just don't call an LPM to come over and moderate the kid because he doesn't know what he's doing. Just try and teach him the ropes. Like, explain to him like you're not in role play, and teach him how to, because it's I know it seems cheesy doing stuff like that, but like in the long run, what will happen is that you'll get another person you could potentially roleplay with, another friend you can get. You could say like it's again, most of them are kids, like they
Hmm.
don't know what the hell they're doing half the time. So like if they had someone to sort of teach them what they're doing and so on, like that'd only be better for everyone, I would say.
There's one extra thing I want to add, which is something I've noticed. A lot of some of the veterans tend to try to push me and the other developers towards like, let's make a more like a veteran focused game that doesn't have as many newbies, because I understand the draw is you want to have like a game with a ton of veterans, like everyone knows what they're doing. But the problem with that is that veterans, for the most part, are in high school or early college. And so they're probably not going to be playing ATF or Roblox for many more years to come. Whereas newbies, I would say, like, I don't know, one out of 3, 1 out of 5 of them would become a veteran in the future. So without newbies, the game dies.
Yeah, I can empathize with that. I see how you're taking that.
So think about that next time you see Johnny Darko, 17 years old, was a soldier before the war,
Can't die.
half vampire.
Parents died before the flat. Oh, God,
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's funny, but don't be mean to him.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something we can all joke about. We joke.
Um.
Thing is, we joke about, like, even veteran role players. Like, we can joke about the SLF and all of them. So
Yeah.
as long as we don't get too carried away to the point where we're harassing them or making them not want to play the game anymore.
The next question is from Fishy Soap. Will you ever do different RP genres such as Cyberpunk, Wild West, zombies, etc.?
Oh well, I'm glad you asked. We have this game called the Farlands.
Cool game called The Farlands 2.
The Farlands Amnestica.
It's a really cool game that a lot of people should go check out. And it's not like I've told Chad before, there's a lot of people who don't know about Farlands 2.
The Farlands 2 Amnestica is what it's called, is the subtitle, is a medieval fantasy roleplay. It's sort of new. It's still in beta, so the map isn't
Yeah.
fully complete. But like I said before, it's sort of an experiment. There's a lot of veterans playing it currently, veteran role players. So if you want to try something new that we've made, that's there. If you support the game by like buying things or playing it, then we'll know that you guys enjoy it, and we'll make more.
I actually started on Farlands 1. That was the first roleplay game I've ever played.
The Farlands 1 was the first
You
roleplay
mean
game
Bajong?
that you played?
Yeah, it was.
That's
That's
impressive.
what I
That
started on.
game had like no players.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was it kind of showed up with the player base was, like, it was dead at night, but like towards, like, 5 o'clock and all those times it was pretty alive and you got to have a good time. I went from not knowing how to roleplay at all, and then I owned a sub faction for the North.
Oh, interesting.
That brings me to a point about the After the Flash thing. It's a lot harder for larger scale games to appeal to everybody, but the smaller scale games, they kind of have a really unique draw to them. I think
Yeah, that's true.
a lot of people blame, ATF for being not as, player driven, but I mean, I understand that, it's such a big community that you can't exactly have, like you were saying earlier, 100 people doing their own thing do as much as
Yeah.
a giant faction.
Yeah.
I think prop placers is sort of like that step in the direction where a player could make it like their own part of the map, their home. Sort of like they can sort of have their own like stake in the game itself without it actually being us sitting there building the home itself. So it's one of the things we like doing, or I personally like flying around and seeing people building with prop placer, especially in Farlands. There's some
Yeah.
really interesting things they make over there.
I know a lot of people would disagree, but I think that the prop placer was probably one of the smartest decisions that have been made in ATF.
I agree.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
The prop placer was one of my favorite things to work on and add. I'm glad people enjoy that. There's a lot of experiments I'm doing with 7 still, like the prop placer, for example, because I think I want to try moving a little more towards ATF being a little bit of a RP sandbox hybrid, just because I think people being able to directly affect the map is something that everyone wants. And in terms of like everyone having a stake in the story as well as like a direct interaction with events is something I'm still trying to figure out.
If it isn't like that, I don't think anybody would blame you. Like we've been touching on a lot in this podcast, it's a massive community that you can't please everybody. But so the prop placer in 7.5, is that going to have different packs, like things that don't carry over into Mirage? Like I can understand maybe not having the garden one since it's a nuclear winter, but I might be wrong. Do you have any take on that?
I would say like literally anything from like before we were saying the data that is from Mirage is being completely moved over to
Okay.
7.5, so those packs will be in the game.
Okay. Will there be any like specific props that are like only in a certain game, like or there is it not going to be like that?
No, we're moving. Everything
Everything.
from 7 comes over.
Okay, yeah, that's all right.
So like I'm pretty sure if we're doing it correctly, if you have like a character already made, you could just load it up in 7.5. If you have a build that you've made, you could load it up in 7.5, but it might not look good.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah,
So
because we've moved around some things with the map. So if you load in something that's on top of a
you
scrap
might
building,
be able to salvage some things, but
yeah,
if it's like out in the dunes or in one of the two towns beforehand, they're not going to be
They're
there
not going
anymore.
to because the dunes have become forest, correct?
That and there'll probably be trees sticking through the roof.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's a good point. So you might want to, if anyone who's listening to this, you might want to have some slots ready and like put the number 7 or 7.5 in your saves, so you know which place it's your build is meant for.
I have another question from Brucket. What does Chad think on the ATF story at the moment?
Like the story as a whole, or 7.
Yeah, I guess the story as a whole.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons I'm moving on to make an entirely new story for ATF 8 is because I want to keep the game interesting for myself. One of the reasons I work on these games is because I make games that I want to play. So, now that the story seemed a little old to me, I want to come up with something new. I think the story is pretty awesome. Well, I guess that's kind of blowing my own horn there.
Oh no, we agree.
I didn't write everything, but also I think keeping the apocalypse sort of 20 to 30 years in the future is something that I want to do. Obviously now it's not the same. Like the closer we get to 2032 in our actual real life, the more unbelievable robotic prosthetics and laser guns become.
Yeah.
And I like having those things, so I want to. Yeah.
I see. So I have a question about um some of your coming games. Do you think that there's ever going to be a game in the rebuilding era that was referenced, or
Well, since 7 is going to be the last game in the 2032 timeline, I can't really speak on quite yet how the rebuilding era will work, since the rebuilding era of the 2032 timeline is not going to be in future games.
uh, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to or if you don't know yet. But do you know if do you have any idea if it's going to be before 2032 or after 2032?
It's definitely going to be way after. I
Way
think
after.
I want to give the world time to sort of advance technology a little bit before it's blown apart.
Because seals aren't advanced at all. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's one thing that's weird is the technology in our current timeline seems a little advanced for the apocalypse happening in 2032. So I want to have the apocalypse happen in maybe like 2050s or 2060s to give the world time to advance to like much more energy based weapons. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do with the story and the world that I can't really get into here without going on for like an hour.
Okay.
I can kind of tell that even with the things that have been added to 7 in the recent months, things like the Lurk 5 and the BNL M2, those things are shifting in that kind of direction.
Yeah. That's the way I want to go, because I feel like people enjoy certain realistic aspects, but I don't know. My motto with FL2 and ATF for the past year now has been like, everyone wants to be a badass.
Yep.
So I'm trying my best to quench that thirst that people have to hold something that's really cool and powerful, or be someone that's got like a
Ooh.
robotic prosthetic.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I do support changing the year because, like you said, the closer we get to 2032, the less believable it gets.
Yeah.
So here's a question. This one is from Gragley. He says, "Do you like smoked meats?" No, I'm kidding. This one's from Neo the 170. And he wants to know if the Meet the Chad the Creator badge is purely for aesthetic or if it's going to give something in the future.
For now, it's for aesthetic. I can't. I have no plans to add something for it.
I didn't think so.
So don't hold your breath for that. I might, but I'm no promises.
It says itself on the badge that he himself is wondering if it'll ever add.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It does.
That's a genuine statement. I'm still wondering myself.
Give it the money bag that you have on your toy.
Oh yeah, I don't even know if I want to get into that. That's a weird thing.
How does it
Right.
feel to have a toy of yourself?
Pretty trippy. I never expected never expected to have like a toy of something that I made that you can get like in a major store. That's a I don't know. Now I'm like, of course I have a toy in the Target, but when I really think about it, it's pretty insane.
Oh yeah, I mean, like this is a totally stolen joke from a popular YouTuber, but I mean, how many people can say that they have a doll made of them? That's the bear Teddy Roosevelt didn't kill. That's about it.
Yeah. I will say now. Actually, no. I think I'm forbidden to talk about that from Roblox.
Ooh, dang.
That's all I can say.
Next question is from Rocket Ridge, and he said, "Will ATF be receiving more events outside of Halloween updates, and will there ever be a way to obtain scrap parts without paying for it, such as promo codes through Twitter or from leveling up?"
Well, the Halloween. I think I'll start by saying the Halloween thing. Halloween is like ATF's biggest holiday, I think,
Yeah.
because I feel like Halloween out of all the holidays sort of fits the most with the themes of ATF. I feel like we do a decent amount of holiday events, so I'm not really sure where to go from there. Like we do most major holidays. We do something for most of them. But as for obtaining scrap without paying for things, I think we could probably do like giveaways and stuff. But again, scrap parts is part of the monetization process of ATF, so I can't really offer too many ways to obtain that
Yeah.
for free. Not because I just want to keep the game boring or anything, but because that's like literally how the game pays for my food.
And for the last fan questions, we're going to drag in a fan named Validated KO. Dragamimus.
Alrighty. Hello, Validated KO. How you doing on this fine
Oh,
day?
hello.
I am incredibly nervous.
Hello.
You're good,
You're
man.
good,
Don't
my
worry.
dude.
Okay, so
Me too.
I am Dootless KO. I go by Validated KO on Roblox.
Okay.
I've played ATF since 2018, I believe. Anyways, so I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly regarding the games, specifically ATF 7.5 and 8. My first one is, what are your plans for after the Flash 7.5?
So the plans for 7.5 is it's basically gonna follow the same logic as previous 0.5 games. So what we're gonna do is have it be set in a slightly altered universe from the main games. And we are I don't want anyone to expect something huge like a main title game like Deep Six or Sandstorm or anything. But what we're essentially doing is we're taking the map of Mirage and updating it, freshening it up a little bit, and taking the major locations in the game and changing them slightly or modifying them in certain ways. So things are a little new.
Alright, that's cool. So my next one is, where and when will ATF 8 be set?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know myself.
I've heard some rumors that it's going to be set in Russia.
Oh, that's
I hope not.
I don't
yeah,
know
so
about that, brother.
so a while back I was saying I wanted to set the last the last 2032 timeline ATF in Russia. But I don't know if I really want to do that now because I don't know how many people would actually find it appealing to roleplay as a Russian, because I feel like what we would get is instead of 1,000 people doing something really interesting, it would be like 200 people all role playing as drunken ex-Soviets.
A lot
I
of
mean,
appeal to the 13-year-old communist community.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Me big strong Russian
yeah.
man with AK-437. I live in
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah, I
Alright,
would
so-
I would mess with everyone by making the game in Russia and then not selling an AK-47.
Oh my God, that would
You can't do
that
that,
would be-
man.
That would be terrible.
I would.
Oh my God, I
tease-
would love just like the opposite of everything we already see. Just like, hi, my name's Steve. I'm from from California. I live in Russia.
Oh, my
Yeah.
Lord.
I had some interesting ideas for that. Like I would I would make it clear to everyone in some fantasy way that everything has been translated from Russian to English in the game so that people could just say that
So,
they're speaking
sort of
Russian.
like Farlands? Sort of like
Yeah,
Fallout?
sort of. That's pretty much been scrapped at this point. I don't have any locations for ATF-8. I just have a secret notepad of a bunch of things that I know I want to go into the game.
Okay. So, I have a last question here. What do you think about spin-off titles such as Project Dutes and Project Spark?
Yeah, I'll go into a little more detail right now, I guess. I support people making content in the ATF community. The only time I don't support it is when it is a ATF spinoff that is the intention of it is to sort of compete with the main game in some way. In which case, I feel like that's less of a spinoff and more of just like a game of its own, where someone just sort of ripped the ideas from ATF. That doesn't really happen all that often at all. But I do support people making spinoffs because it looks good for your future resume, for example, to have like these huge things that you've made.
Yeah.
And also it's a great way to blow off steam for some of the creators out there.
If I said I had a last question for the last one, I lied.
This is the last
If there
question.
was-
He says
if-
another hour in. No, I'm kidding.
I have one question that I've been saving till the end, but I'll wait till the end.
Sounds good.
Alright,
Okay.
so if you could change one thing about ATF, what would it be? It could be a game, lore, technology, anything.
If I had to take 7 and just change something about the story or the system right now, I think I would change the entire I would add more customization options to the tools in the game. And this is one of the things I want to do in the next game. Instead of set weapons with variants, you would have a maybe like a base weapon that you buy or you obtain somehow, and then you can have like a set of or a pack of attachments that you can put on it. So you'd be able to fully customize your weapon in different ways, like putting attachments on and painting it different colors. Same thing
So-
with morph parts.
So sort of like Project Dutes is doing, just in the main games.
I haven't played those.
You should check them out. They're pretty. They're pretty good. I'm gonna be honest.
Vortex is making the guns modular, I believe, where you can add and remove attachments which can be paid for, such.
That's pretty cool.
Say that
Yeah.
all the no, not all the guns will be free. Never mind.
That's something I'd like to do in the future.
Yeah, that'd be a breath of fresh air, you know. Thank you for being on Validated. It's been some
Thank
pretty
you.
good questions.
Yeah, thank you for the questions.
Alright, you're welcome. And thank you for having me here.
No problem,
Yeah.
man.
No problem, man. You have
My
a good
pleasure,
one.
man.
It's been fun. He was nice.
Yeah.
That last question was a good one.
That was a good
Mhm.
question. Yeah.
All of them were. Wait, real quick though, like what? So like, what do you think about an ATF game set in New Orleans? Like, how do you think that would go?
Says the New Orleanian.
I'm from Chicago, man, but yeah, I live in Louisiana now. I was just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that?
I really don't know. Like, I haven't chosen a location for ATF-8 yet, so really anything is open game. I know I want it to be someplace in the mainland U.S. just because that's the most interesting place for most players, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I think it'd be more detrimental to move ATF out of the US personally,
Mhm.
because most of the players come from North America
Yeah.
area. Like you don't really see a lot of, I would say, European players on ATF. I mark my words if I'm wrong. All right, like I could be, but I mean, I know we do have a few LPMs that are from Europe. For the most part, I feel like it'd be a lot better to keep it in the United States when it comes to ATF games, and let spin-offs explore that type of world, I guess, outside of
Yeah,
North America.
That's actually a really good idea.
yeah. Just
Despite people really enjoy like Sparks Osaka, their version of Osaka. A lot of people do play that every now and
Yeah.
then.
One thing I'll add on here is just to reiterate. I kind of end up making games that I want to play, and as a biased American, I want to play games that are in America. So I don't know if I necessarily want to play a game like France or Russia or
New Orleans would be underwater,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, that's true.
everyone who lives in New Orleans sucks.
Oh man.
Got family there.
Man.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, no. But for the next question for both of you guys, what would you say is your favorite ATF game and why?
What about you, DJ?
Rain.
Rain?
Started with Rain.
Started from the
I made
bottom.
a lot of friends on that. I didn't enjoy 6. Deep Winter was like a step in the right direction. Like it got me back into it. Mirage, I like it.
Chad, as the creator of these games, do you have any favorites, or do you not like to choose between your children?
I mean, I'll definitely choose. I think Mirage is the best one.
It's gonna toss Darkness under the boat.
Darkness is like I don't know. Darkness is like the child that's off doing something really weird as a career, but I still support them a lot.
Yeah, he's
It's a really cool. I really liked the map when I was doing like the safe hunt before ATF 7. I spent a lot of time on Darkness, more than I ever would have. And I
Mhm.
actually really enjoyed the map. The only problem is that your fucking your visibility is, a pinpoint.
Yeah. I think before we move on to ATF 8, I want to do another safe hunt through all the games, as well as maybe like a one-day host in
Oh,
each
nice.
game, maybe.
that would be really
Um,
cool.
But back to the question, Mirage is my favorite just because I understand that a lot of people know that the map is getting close to 2 years old now, so that's something. But at the time, the map was pretty a pretty good. Like when it came out, it was a pretty good mix of all the good elements of past ATF games,
Yeah.
and the system in Mirage is so many leagues ahead of any previous game.
I think I speak factually when I say that Mirage was probably the most intuitive game that in ATF, the whole series, and not just in development, but also in a lot of faction senses.
Yeah, everything, even the systems we use to communicate, like in the community with staff members between factions, has gotten better as well. We're no longer in the days where everyone's flinging crap around accusations. Still happens, but it's not as bad.
I guess on to my last question, which has been on my mind, and I don't. God, sometimes I feel like I'm just so out of the loop, and I just have missed so many things. But I'm hoping that this is a question that has at least crossed a lot of people's
Mhm.
minds. What is up with the sentient cactus?
What in the world?
He's
He
actually
came from
dead.
Mexico.
Yeah, we did kill him.
What?
Oh, no.
What's the story behind that?
Christ. It's like a long list of developers. Like towards the beginning of ATF 7, there's like one developer, I think, put a hat on a cactus, a sombrero on a cactus, and I think they just kept moving it around, and eventually, like at some point, people were just developers were just moving it around over and over, and I was like, I'm so sick of this. I'm gonna set it in one place, and it's gonna be a badge, and then it's gonna have literally no story behind it, and everyone's gonna wonder what the heck it is.
Well, now you know it has a minor story to it.
Yeah,
We
it
unveiled a lot
wonders.
Here
today.
he is.
That satisfies my
Poor guy is
curiosity.
gone.
Thank you.
Oh wow, yeah, that is
He is no
funny.
longer.
He has
Oh,
been
boy.
killed.
He has been killed. Oh no.
I remember seeing him on the windowsill of a couple buildings, and I always appreciated him.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He listens to every conversation.
He is the chat logs that the mods are missing.
He's meta. He can hear the
Oh,
OOC arguments.
Moves on to.
He is the
moves
newbies
on
and the
to
veterans.
Pea shooters. Pea shooters.
Oh.
Okay, I will say
Yeah.
the pea shooter thing, I have no hand in at all, and I don't understand it myself either.
Oh my god!
Yeah, what? I don't know
Don't
why that
worry
is.
about it.
I
The
don't know how it
schoolhouse
got-
has so many references.
I mean, there's there's a bunch of pea shooters, and then it goes as far as to put like a sad pea shooter inside a cage.
What?
It gets
Poor
dark.
guy.
Where?
Look, man, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's gone.
I think DJ knows the complete story behind the pea shooters.
I don't think DJ is gonna
So
tell
there's
us.
a whole saga going on. I don't think you guys know. Like, if you could piece it together, I'd be surprised.
On Farlands too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will say that I do know. I don't know the story, but I do know that if you can piece together the whole story and find the location on the map, the correct location, you get the developer pass.
I have no
Yeah.
proof, but I
Location
did it.
of what?
Give me the developer
can't answer that.
pass.
It's not the one you think
Alright.
of.
Tying Farlands and ATF together. So a lot of my friends that play Mirage and Farlands came up with like a theory that's like really fascinating. But like, it's like, what are your thoughts on, like, I don't know if you're making this canon or whatever, but like, what are your thoughts on Farlands taking place like after the Flash series? It's like, they have that Easter egg of like the USCPF like frozen on the Farlands map.
Okay.
Well, that's USCPF Frozen on from Deep Six. So I don't know if you know that.
I'm not sure if I should explain that right now. It is okay. I guess I'll explain it.
You told me it's a funny Easter egg.
It's
No.
wait, what?
Tell me this is a
thought
funny
it was just
Easter
an
egg to
Easter
make.
egg?
You don't tell me it's real, man.
So I thought it was like a super cool thing. You're not supposed to be able to access it, like within the story, but it is a lore thing. I know that probably doesn't make much sense because the multiple realms that exist in that world, one of them has Earth in it, and from some anomaly, a clone of a UR-22 from the 21st century was sent into the Farlands, and it crashed into the mountains like a few thousand years ago, and it's been frozen there ever since.
Whoa.
So it's not the kind of theory where Farlands is the future of After the Flash, where everything's mutated, kind of like those Skyrim past
No.
Fallout.
Everything, the laws of physics in the Farlands are so different.
There was that, and then in the early stages of the map, I remember when Farlands 2 was first released, and I was on the map. There was this one mesa, that lone mesa just outside of
I know where this is. I know what you're talking.
Yeah, and there was a rusted gun container, like a
Oh.
gun cabinet.
Oh, really?
And it got later.
Yeah, Headbunk knows about that one.
I was told at one point that maybe that had gotten removed just because it was a joke and it wasn't supposed to be there, and someone got chewed out for it. But is it actually in the same instance as this anomaly thing we're talking about?
So there is a crashed within the story. There is a crashed UR-22 frozen in the mountain. Yeah, no one's supposed to be able to access that within the story at this current moment. So nobody's character should be walking around saying like, I found this boomstick.
Yeah.
Oh,
You see
God.
it.
At this current moment, he says, "I'm scared."
Oh,
I melt the ice with my pyromancy, and I fly the UR-22.
Yeah, I somehow have knowledge to fly this UR-22, which probably is broken in so many ways. Fuel lines busted from freezing. It crashed.
Not to mention all the power should be completely gone there.
Yeah, completely gone.
You said so. Physics works. You said physics works differently in
Mhm.
Farlands, correct? So yeah, I mean, even on a molecular level, that batteries would probably not even work.
Yeah, there's just so many things that are different about the laws of physics in the realm of the Farlands.
You don't say. I've thrown fireballs out of my hands before.
Oh yeah.
I've seen people do that on YouTube.
It is.
They generally go to the hospital though.
Going back to Mirage, now this is a question I've had for a while too. I know there's a lot of issues with like copyright and like adding music to like Roblox and it gets like copyright and all that. But do you plan on adding any more soundtrack to the radio in Mirage?
we want you to listen to "Shake It Off" till your ears bleed. That's how we preferred it to be. So you never listen to anything.
I want people to be insanely mumbling "Shake It Off" to themselves in their hallways
boy.
at school.
Oh my God, you've succeeded! Congratulations.
No, the story behind that is finding and acquiring new music is really difficult, and especially since Roblox copyright has really clamped down in recent months and years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the future, after the Flash and the Farlands, soundtracks are probably going to be either royalty-free stuff that I get off of the internet or Roblox itself, or stuff that I have to pay tons of money for someone to make. Like the menu theme of After the Flash is was made purposefully for After the Flash
Oh,
by his name is B Slick.
He's, like,
that's interesting.
pretty sure he made RGC 2019
Did he?
music. Yeah,
Huh.
2019.
He made the soundtrack for another popular Roblox game. I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
Oh, what will we ever do if Root Around gets copyrighted?
Oh no.
Is that
I
your
don't know.
favorite song, Chad?
It's a good one. It's a good one. I blast it driving in my car at night. But one thing we can do with Route Around is I don't think they actually care all that much about copyright if you're using like 5 seconds of it. So even if they did copyright it, I would still be able to put that
In
that
the
one
intro.
chunk in the beginning of the studio screen.
Yeah. Six.
I'm cruising around the Farlands here, and I just realized that our
I was about to say that. I was like, did you notice what
yeah, someone
recently?
told me that
It was-
earlier.
What happened?
No, it's one of the best things. It's a feature.
It's a
It's a
feature.
feature.
Essentially, what happens is there's a giant waterfall in the mountains, and it's the waterfall sound was copyrighted, I guess. So now it plays like elevator music.
Oh, Christ.
It's more than
I
one
hope- I hope
place, you
keep
know.
it.
I hate this so much. We're standing in the Farlands, listening to a different waterfall, which is playing jazz or elevator music.
Oh Christ. I remember like for Deep Winter the menu theme got copyrighted. So you have that guy, he's all depressed and like worn down from the wasteland, like reminiscing of his like past life with his wife or whatever.
That was only recent.
You have that, you have the
I
elevator.
remember that. Yeah.
Wait, what is that?
The Deep Winter like intro screen got the music got cut.
Wait, that music got copyrighted?
Yeah, just
Oh
recently
man,
too.
they're really on a roll here.
I'm gonna be honest, like that postmodern jukebox music, like that some of it was real fire. Like I'm gonna be honest.
The Never Gonna Give You Up version is probably my favorite one.
That
I
one's
think
great.
what I'm gonna do in the future, maybe with this game or with the future system, is I'm gonna have like music without words, like jazz music, royalty free kind of stuff that plays. That's not too
Yeah.
boring. But I also really want to be able to pay someone to make zone specific music. So you'll be able to switch between like radio mode, ambient mode, and no music. So if you're on ambient mode, you'll walk into like the snowy mountains, and it'll play a snowy feeling rendition of the main theme. Or if you walk into the forest, it'll play like a foresty feeling rendition of the main theme.
So is Jeff Bateman coming back?
He's dead.
I can't confirm or deny if Jeff Bateman died.
I heard rumors that he died in the Creative raid, but I thought I saw
Darn.
somebody playing as him.
Who knows?
Who knows? He says. So
Makes you wonder.
I have a question about 7.5 coming. So I guess a lot of people, in hindsight, not at the time, but looking back at it, we kind of enjoyed the role plays that the Coyotes brought upon. Do you think that a form of the Coyotes or something similar to the Coyotes may show up more long term in 7.5?
Like Chad has been saying this whole time, like 7.5 isn't supposed to be like a long-term game.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if there'll be events that happen, but I'm pretty sure if like the community like basically just moves over to that game and like we expect not a lot of people to play it. But if it ends up being like it somehow revives like half the community from the grave, I would say maybe we'd do
Mhm.
stuff like that. But I'd probably try.
Yeah, it's 7.5 is very much a living project. So we'll gauge what we do on the game based on the community's response to it.
I like that.
I think there's only one new faction that we are planning to have on, like, sort of with the release with it, but I think we'll keep that one secret.
Yeah, we'll keep that one secret.
But I have a question for you, Chad. What would you say is like your favorite thing deving, like favorite thing about deving and working at Roblox?
Like when I was an intern.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. I guess I would say just the interactions I had with the other people there, like the parties we went to, and Roblox has a like 2 or 3 in studio cafeterias. That's just kind of a tech company thing. But they like you can just go down there and literally grab yourself lunch, and come back up,
Really?
continue working.
What was it that turned you away? If you're allowed to talk
Yeah.
about that.
Working on the backend system, like being, for example, let's take YouTube. Being someone who is a content creator on YouTube is a very much a different thing from being someone who writes the code for YouTube.
Yeah.
That's a good
So it's
analogy. I
more
like
like
that.
being working in IT rather than working, as a content
Yeah,
creator, as
I
you said.
enjoyed being able to make something interesting, and if it succeeds or fails, I know it was my fault, and I know what to do to fix it.
So you like being your
Where,
own boss?
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I always wanted when I was in high school, and I didn't think I would get it, but I guess I have it. But working at Roblox was a lot of fun. I think the biggest lesson I took away from it was that, as well as
Can't live in the Bay Area.
yeah, you can't live in the Bay Area because they pay you really well, but you realize just why they do because all of your money's going to go into rent. I was living with 3 or 4 other people in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and all of our money went into rent. I think it was like $5,000 or $6,000 a month.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Um,
Combined or just for individual?
Yeah. Anyway, what I was gonna say was, a work-life balance is something that I learned from that. It's very important if you don't, because some people get really into creating things. If you don't take the time to stop creating things, you'll burn yourself out over and over again.
I couldn't agree more on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people's hobbies is making something like my hobby is actually working on Roblox, which is a little difficult because it's also my job. So I have to force myself to stop because I know that if I don't stop, I'll really enjoy it for like a few days, but if I keep going, I'll burn myself out pretty quick.
You know what they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I can expect probably isn't true because it must get extremely stressful at times.
It does, but I think the stress is worth it, or the outcome of the games and being able to make something that I want to make is worth the stress.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this ATF started out with like a black hole lore, right? I've heard something about that.
Oh, yeah.
Could you
One, one,
elaborate on that?
I will say the black hole idea, not half bad.
Okay, so I don't think a lot of people have heard of this, but the reason After the Flash seems so similar to Fallout is not my intention. I actually didn't play Fallout until I think after ATF 2 came out.
Really?
But the reason it's so similar, and I didn't realize this until like a year ago, is because when I made After the Flash 1, it was actually called After the End. And what that story was a black hole flew near our solar system and through Earth's orbit a little off and ruined like the climate of Earth.
Oh.
Made it extremely hot and volatile. And then I woke up one day, like one morning during the summer, and there was just like 1,000 people playing it, but they were playing it as if there was a nuclear apocalypse. Because I think what had happened was they had all just got done playing Fallout 3, and so they were pretending it was a nuclear apocalypse. And I was like, okay, screw it. Literally 1,000 people are playing it as if it's this way, so I'm just gonna write it that way.
So it's kind of like the community that drove it that way.
Yeah. For some reason, the nuclear apocalypse adds like a whole extra level of drama and political
Does.
stuff.
It does. And you have like mutants and all that, so there's like another threat.
Mhm.
I gotta admit though, I did enjoy the throwback to Rain. I enjoyed the Fallout pack, the laser rifle and the plasma pistol.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, those. I spent a lot of time on those. Those were pretty cool.
I remember when you'd equip that and then you like shoot it and then someone run over to you, you're like, you can't use that.
Yeah. I
Oh,
remember back during the Rain days, my favorite character to play was someone who tricked people into coming out to the underground desert area near Fort Outlook, and then I would betray them and sell them as slaves to the Sand Sharks.
Oh god.
Yeah. Do you sometimes like roleplay often on your own games, like Farlands, ATF?
Yeah, I would say I roleplay on the Farlands as my own character a little more because it's mostly veterans, so they know for the most part not to like crowd me. But on After the Flash, generally, if I roleplay, I have to be like a community organizer, like a mayor or something,
Yeah.
because otherwise people will just because it's like if you're a mayor and people crowd you, okay, fine. But if you're like a trader and people crowd you, that's a little weird. And I have
Right.
to keep coming out of the role play to like tell people like, "Hey, I'm just a trader. Please stop."
Mhm.
So I usually, if I role play on After the Flash, it's on an alt.
Yeah.
We were actually discussing selling like a prop placer expansion pack where literally all it is just like a plus 100 or plus something prop limit.
I'd buy that. I know a lot of people would buy that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I would be really interested in like a camping one. I don't know how you'd, but like the tents in Farlands look really cool. You know, a
Yeah.
coffee percolator on
Um,
there, a different type of
I'm
campfire.
pretty sure. I think we were thinking about doing one for like that would go and release with 7.5.
Oh, really?
That some of the moderators that were working on it right now, but I don't know if we're actually gonna do it.
Well, I
Yeah,
I
we're
know I'm
still
just one person, but I support that all the way.
we're still
Yeah.
thinking about it, trying to figure out if it's something that we even have enough props to put into something unique as that.
I mean, when you look into it, like in real life, I'm an avid camper. I have I have more camping supplies than I do school supplies, but uh, you know, there's a lot of smaller things you could put in there. I mean, I don't know how in depth you'd get with that, but you could put like coffee percolators, grates, like you know, there's a lot of improvisation when it comes to prop placing. You got the people who flip over the storage shelves and make them into like the grates that you put pots on for camping.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you could do things like that, and but you know, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you how to do things.
Yeah, we'll do the math and figure it out if that's something that we
Mhm.
want to do. Definitely want to do a what was it called? We wanted to do we're gonna do one expansion pack for the Farlands called like markets, military, and magic, and then we're gonna do one for the far or After the Flash. I think centered around power and plumbing.
Oh, nice.
I have heard of. I did hear that there was gonna be like a plumbing one coming out, and instead came the garden one, which I extremely support. One of my favorite things was the dirt patches that came out because you can use those for roads and settlements, and I thought that was so
The
cool.
garden one, the garden one was sort of a pitch from me to Chad because we just finished the Farlands 2 one,
Hmm.
the prop pack for that. Realistically thinking, I was thinking we were gonna jump right into next Farlands update right afterwards. So I was like, well, we're gonna be missing out on ATF for a while. We might as well just do like something. And I usually go around if usually see me like in ATF chat or general chat or even in the voice chats. I usually, depending on what's going on in there, I usually ask people what they think, what they would want in the game, like what they feel like is doing right, what's doing wrong. Just trying to get the feedback so I know myself what's going on in it and like what people want. And I
Mhm.
sort of like I try to relay it to Chad if it's something that comes up. Like if he asks me like, "Hey, we're doing this," and I know something that one of the players or a group of players have told me about, I usually go and tell them about it and so on like that.
Yep, we're still trying to work out the details on some of these things.
That's nice, like having some community involvement, having them like help you guys with ideas and all that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I forgot to mention this earlier. One thing we're considering including for 7.5 as an experiment is a stat system.
Oh, really?
So you can like add stats on top of your dice rolls. It would be an optional system. So you'd have like let me check the list. This is just a concept for now, so no final.
Yeah.
So it's
So
just like a
the stats we are planning are agility, strength, perception, intuition, charisma, and stealth.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. So if you're like more highly skilled in one stat, like he adds like a +2 or whatever to like your rolls.
yes.
Yeah, so you would have
Kind
an
of like
extra.
D&D, I guess.
Yeah, you would have an advantage in certain scenarios. But the idea is each stat. So 3 of those stats are more like swords, and the other 3 are like shields. So someone
Oh.
could theoretically have like, if they have like a lot of points in agility, and you have a lot of points in speed or whatever the other one is, they could have a high chance of dodging your melee attacks.
I like that idea. That make combat a lot more interesting.
If I roll a 20, I dodge your bullet.
So I have a question. When's Deep 7 coming out?
Yes.
Deep 7.
Deep 7.
Where did you get the name idea for Deep Six?
It was actually it's a term. It means to be betrayed or killed. Deep
Ah.
6, and I thought it was pretty good because the number of the game is also 6. So
I think I'm gonna head out for now.
All right, man. It was really nice having you on, bro.
you're heading out, DJ.
Yeah.
All right.
You have a
See
good
ya.
one.
See ya, man.
I'm gonna finish this game and then head out too.
All right. Thanks for being on, man. It was amazing.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, thanks for being on, Chad. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
man.
problem. I
Tell-
hope
Thank
hope
you.
this is good content.